Being raised by a mother that looks at you as if she hates you and resents your very existence doesn't just make you feel bad or sad or, wishing you had a better mommy, although you do all these things. Ultimately, what this kind of treatment does to one's psyche is that it teaches you to viscerally and fully and with passion hate yourself. And you don't hate yourself maybe in words. You don't say to yourself, I hate you, but you treat yourself in ways that are betraying deeply rooted self-hatred. So today I want to talk about self-hatred that is instilled in us by the people who raise us, by how they're treating us, and how to start moving toward the direction of loving the self we were taught to hate. So how does this happen, right? How are we learning through these parents to hate ourselves? Because the argument that always exists in the spaces of healing, when we try to talk about our current lives as a way to, we are trying to explain our current life based on the past. We get a lot of pushback of people saying like, this is your life. We can't keep blaming the parents for everything, blah, 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 blah. Well, let me just clarify a few things that I tend to clarify in a lot of my videos. So first of all, before we do any of these things, I want to clarify something. We have to blame our parents if we want to heal. That is the first step, really, to healing, because it comes with the validation. So if you have to heal childhood trauma, and in your process of healing childhood trauma, you realize that the people who raised you were very cruel to you, you're supposed to verbalize this and identify this. That's how you can heal from it, right? You can't heal from a childhood that you want to identify or talk about or validate yourself that it even happened, right? So now this is out of the picture, hopefully it makes sense that this is a necessary part of our healing, so you don't feel guilty about doing it. It is essential. But let's start. How do narcissistic parents teach a kid to hate themselves, right? Because nobody comes into the world hating themselves. It doesn't happen this way. We don't even have an opinion of ourselves up until we are, I don't know how old, maybe 2, 3, at least 4, to start conceptualizing even that we exist as a separate person fully and have traits that are unique to ourselves that others don't have and all of that. So these parents may not tell you I hate you, although I know that a lot of your narcissistic parents have told you this in one way or the next, right? Maybe not I hate you, maybe they'll say I wish you were never born or things like that, right? So they make you feel constantly, general, that you're the problem, you're a burden, you're too much, you're not enough, you're inconvenient, you're embarrassing, you're selfish, you're all the horrible things. But when you're performing what they want you to do, they seem to like that. So you're being taught things like that. So they will shame your feelings. And this will teach you that your inner world is not really acceptable. What you're feeling, what you're experiencing is not acceptable. They will mock your needs. And you will learn that your needs do not matter, so you shouldn't have any. They will criticize your personality, your body, your voice, what brings you joy, your anger. Every little bit of an expression of you will be scrutinized and put under, strict surveillance and forcibly try to edit you out of it. The narcissistic parents will withhold warmth, approval, softness, attention, anything that you want, unless you behave properly, which will teach you that you have to earn love. So you're by default learning that you don't really deserve love as you are, right? You're going to have to earn it. So that should have been the starting point. They will compare you to others, so you always feel like a disappointment. They will dismiss your pain, so you stop trusting in your experience. They will blame you for everything, so you will feel guilty for even existing. They will punish you for being authentic, for being yourself, so you will just build a false self and just abandon who you really are, right? So the mechanism is this. They will treat you with so much criticism, shame, rejection, or neglect, and conditionality, that you will begin to internalize the way they're seeing you. So by the end of this experience with them, you will learn that you are not a lovable person. And that doesn't just mean others will not love you. That means that you fundamentally cannot love yourself because you're not being shown how. You're not being given the mirroring that you are somebody lovable. So basically, they make you hate yourself by treating your humanity and your authenticity and who you are like a flaw, right? So you then learn that you are very flawed and very problematic. And some of the signs that you hate yourself that are manifesting in like smaller day-to-day things, not just self-harm, like abusive self-harm, is that you will constantly put yourself down and even joke about it. You will always look in the mirror trying to find something that's wrong with you. You constantly have this shame about who you are and you shame yourself for mistakes that you made. Pretty horrible in here, right? You tend to think that other people deserve things that you don't. You stay in relationships where you're disrespected because you don't think you deserve better. You feel guilty and you can't rest and you can't voice your needs to anybody. You accept crumbs and call it enough, or at least they, and one more thing that is important that I see with a lot of people struggling with self-hatred, which is pretty much all of us raised by parents like that. You don't come out of this experience loving yourself. I mean, if you weren't loved, because that was fundamentally what was lacking. There was no acceptance of who you were, so you could not accept who you are. So what happens is we come into our lives later as adults, and we create an elusive self, a fake self that we will go to once we heal, and that fake self will be deserving of love. So a way that we can see that we hate ourselves is that we're constantly trying to fix ourselves, to improve ourselves, to make us better than we are. And we usually feel like we're doing that so that others will love us. But in reality, what we're trying to do is to convince ourselves that we are lovable enough for anyone to love us. But who we're really trying to convince that we are lovable is ourselves, because we do not really believe it. So if you hate yourself, you will insult yourself, you will abandon your needs, you will stay places that don't value you, and you will call that this is your life. You don't really have a choice, right? So essentially what happens is this: somebody raises you, doesn't accept you, doesn't like you, resents you, projects on you, has so much unhealed junk of their own that they do not like you one bit for being yourself. And they have all these predetermined ideas of what you should look like, what kind of good girl you should have been, especially if you're raised by a narcissistic mother. She's very much into making sure you follow suit. Like the father would do that too, but her, with the proximity that she has to you and being another woman in your life, she's really influential in that way and really oppressive, even more oppressive. And I say this in a lot of my videos, that I think the narcissistic mother is one of the most loyal carriers of patriarchy because of her own internalized misogyny and how she will be a very passionate oppressor of yours. She will not stop doing that to you because she wants you to obey the scripts that she also followed. Because if you obey the scripts that she followed, then she's a good mother, right? The value of the good mother that the narcissistic mother gets out of being a mother is that she has a daughter that is an example of a good daughter. And the good daughter is the good girl, is an obedient girl, that then marries a man. She does things by the book. She has the kids, right? So if you deviate from all of that and you're not as perfect as she would want you to be, you're done. You're done. She's very cruel with wanting you to follow up with all these things. But anyway, this woman fundamentally does not accept you for who you are, doesn't love you, doesn't look at you with kindness. She looks at you with criticism. There's always something to judge about your body, your face, the way you talk, the way you eat. There's always something that is wrong with you. So eventually you don't think, oh gosh, this woman is crazy. What is going on here? Or you're like, oh, my mom is a narcissist. Let me look it up. It's not going to happen. What's going to happen is you're going to think, I'm that unworthy and so bad and so disgusting and so flawed that my own mother doesn't like me. And then what happens is you will go out in the world and you will believe that about yourself, and then you will stumble upon people who will teach you the same, because you have this affinity of looking for people who just like her, also scrutinize everything about you. So that makes three of you. Your mom, this person that you're choosing that is just like your mom, and then yourself. That you're trying through these people to hopefully get a different story about who you are. So here it is. Life will be done in a loop, and everything around you will continue to reinforce all of what you already know and believe about yourself because of the choices that you will make, the things that you will tolerate. And every time you'll come back to the same conclusion. Not that, why do I keep doing this to myself? But everybody thinks I'm unlovable. See, that's why I'm unworthy. Of course they leave after they know me. I'm disgusting. Of course that. You are justifying that the entire world around you is rejecting you because your own mother rejected you. What you are unaware of, though, is that you are pursuing acceptance and love from people who don't want you, who don't value you, who will never see value in you, just like your mother never saw value in you. It wasn't that you weren't valuable, it was that she couldn't see it, or she didn't want to see it, or something about you triggered her. But that's a different story about how she operates. But what is important for me and for you to understand in this video is that the fact that you still stack proof that you're unlovable is not because it's true, it's because you are pursuing the very people you will know will not appreciate you. A lot of women end up getting married with very narcissistic men, chasing unavailable men, men who don't commit, men who don't want us, all these things that we do as women in general from trying to be picked, because that's also something that we are organize our entire lives around. But the thing is that your choices are affected by what you believe about yourself. And we can call it fate or that it's just happening, but we know better and we know that it's not. And that doesn't mean that you are to be blamed for people abusing you or treating you any sort of way. But, and this isn't blame here about ourselves, it's more like you need to understand if you have this pattern of choosing constantly the same type of people, of finding yourself in the same types of situations, there's something that you are compulsively repeating here. And for most of you, what you're trying to do is recreate a setting of finding somebody just like that mother of yours that will actually this time love you. But much like that mother of yours, these people are not going to. And what you're left with is a festering sense of self-hatred, because now you feel like you are to blame for people not loving you. You see how it goes full circle. She blames you for everything, for her inability to love you, really, to be a human being with you. And now you are blaming yourself because people don't love you. But you're looking in the wrong direction. But also, you're doing all of this based off of the belief, the core belief that you're unlovable. And also, you have deeply rooted inner hatred. So how do we heal our inner hatred, right? How do we heal this sense of hating ourselves, which many of us may not even be in touch with per se? It just manifests to things, right? It's not the same way we would deal with it when it was somebody external to us. Internal self-hatred feels like intense dislike, but also at the same time, we're trying to pretend that we're fixing ourselves and we want to take care of ourselves. So it's a little bit conflicting, much like the relationship with a parent that installed this in you, right? And taught you how to hate yourself, right? The only antidote to self-hatred is, of course, self-love. As a matter of fact, I have a session in Heal where we meet our self-hatred and we find our path back to self-love. And what strikes me a lot when I see the reflections of the women that go through that session, because I get the reflections, they send them to me, is that many of them didn't realize that, first of all, self-hatred felt like an enemy, but in reality, it was just this force in us that wants to protect us from the world. And it's really a mirror of this problematic relationship with our mother or our father, whoever the narcissistic parent was for you, is that they come off as caring. I want to take care of you. I want you to be happy. I want you to do this. I want you to succeed, right? All these things that they say they want for us, without fundamentally caring about our emotional world, our true and genuine needs, without being sensitive or having empathy. empathy towards those needs or that we need them, right? So it's a conflicting force that comes within. And we see it very clearly through the hypnosis that I created. Of course, you're able to actually address this part and talk to it. But in general, if you think about the ways in which we hate ourselves and we destroy ourselves and we numb ourselves, are an effort to help ourselves to not feel certain things. So it's this conflicting thing where I'm taking care of you, but the way I'm taking care of you is harmful and it's painful. And I don't really like you also. I just want you to do well, kind of thing, right? So again, it's a manifestation, it's an internalization of the relationship, this important relationship with our parents, right? With the parent that scarred us the most, be it a mother or a father. I tend to mention the mother a lot more because there's many of you here talking about the mother and resonating with that type of wound, that's your wound, but it's not exclusive, right? And it feels the same. So the antidote to self-hatred is, of course, self-love. But how are we to love a self we were taught to hate, right? And what we will do is the first sort of intention that people tend to do is like, I'm going to love myself. I'm going to tell myself nice things. I'm going to take myself to the movies. I'm going to have a cute day out and do cute and sweet things and all of that. And I mentioned this in more videos, and I feel people may get a little bit offended because in our effort to love ourselves, we may pretend acts of love, right? Do the things. I'm going to buy you clothes. I'm going to take you out to eat. I'm going to do all these things. Sure, great things. And I bet maybe even your narcissistic mother did those things for you, right? But true self-love and walking towards self-love requires true kindness and love for the person that we are. So if we're all day hating ourselves and berating ourselves, and then we're like, yeah, but I went to the hair salon, that's not self-love. Again, this also has an element of beautification, and I have to make a specific video where I want to address the whole like self-love, self-care type of narrative that has a lot of beautification rituals and a lot of obviously capitalistic, we're trying to spend money by spending money really and doing things where essentially are not the things that we truly need, although they can be complementary to our healing journey. But for a lot of us, they become this thing like, well, I'm doing this for myself. It's self-care. I'm loving myself. It's self-love. But true self-love is really caring about who we are. And we are having a hard time to care about who we are if we were raised by people who hated us and didn't care about how we felt, right? They wanted to keep us safe and fed and do the things, but they didn't care about what's happening in our emotional world. They didn't care enough for our big emotions. They didn't care enough to be sensitive with us, to be kind, to be empathetic, right? They didn't have those intentions, and we didn't learn to have those intentions either, right? So to truly love oneself, you could do the nice, cute things all you want, but really what she needs, what your inner child needs, what you need as a woman, as a human, is to be seen and to be known. And here's where we created another trap. We're like, great, as an act of self-love, I'm going to heal, and I'm then going to bring a partner in my life to see me for who I am and love me for who I am. So again, I'm outsourcing. I'm doing things that look good, or I'm outsourcing all of these things because I want to be convinced that somebody externally can finally love me. And that is a trap, because we will keep running back to finding people who do not love us, or even if they do love us, we're not going to believe it. And we're going to push them away. That's my expertise, by the way. The way I can push people away so fast. And I remember at first I was like, yeah, I would always think it's them. But if I see it in retrospect, the ways in which I manufactured the interactions in such a way where I would always push people away, push the people that loved me, I would push them away, because just I couldn't believe that they would love me. Like, what are you talking about? Like, how is this so easy? I don't have to earn your love. I don't have to contort myself. You don't want me to be less. What is wrong with you? Kind of thing, right? So it's a big issue. But what happens is, as we try to navigate how to remove ourselves from looking at ourselves with hatred and start looking at ourselves from the point of view of love, we have to know that the way to do that is to see ourselves. We have to see ourselves. We have to know ourselves, and not, I know what you like to eat or what you like, those things. We have to be known to ourselves, and that starts by knowing the experience that made us ourselves. And that starts by sitting with ourselves with the pain that we carry, sitting with ourselves with the truths that we hold within, sitting with ourselves with the pain of a childhood that we won't even want to revisit or admit it happened because it's too painful and we don't want to bother with that. We just want to have a great life. I just want to be happy. I just want to be rich. I just want to find love. I just want this. I don't care about that. Yeah, and that's the problem. That's the problem. Self-hatred is a dislike. But deep down, when there's also hatred, there's also not an interest in the well-being of the other, right? So if we're not interested in the well-being of our inner world and our inner parts that are struggling, how are we pretending to be interested about the future self? That we want her to be happy, but we don't care about all the inner children, right? In the memories, basically, that we carry that hold pain. We're like, I don't care about you guys. I only care about me being happy. Sounds just like the parents, right? I don't care about your pain and all these emotions. I just want you to be successful. I just want you to go out and do life correctly. Be successful, get married, do all the things. It's never really about happiness, fulfillment, feeling good in our bodies, feeling safe in our bodies, right? So the true antidote to self-hatred is, of course, self-love. But in order to find self-love for the self, we have to know the self. And in order to know the self, we have to be brave enough to look at what happened to the self through inner child work, through revisiting our childhood, through remembering moments where we needed someone to be there for us. And in those moments, instead of dismissing ourselves, just like everybody else did, or neglect ourselves, or let ourselves sort it out on their own, we sit with ourselves and we are kind to ourselves. The thing with reparenting and why it's so powerful is that it creates a different internal experience in our body, right? We feel differently because we change the internal architecture of how we respond to everything. Because we are getting experiences within our own bodies that feel so different than everything we did, that are so healing and corrective. So let's say you remember a bad event of your childhood. I mean, through Heal, I take you through a lot of processes where you will remember a lot of things, right? Inevitably. I set it up this way so you remember the important things that I want you to remember so that you can heal and you can present yourself like a parent. That's the idea. I want you to keep presenting yourself like a parent, correcting those things and healing those inner children. And then by the end of it, you've healed and unburdened enough. And then you also learn how to be with yourself, right? But in general, if you think about a moment, you had something really challenging happen to you and you remember it. It's a memory when you were a child. And so if you were to connect with that memory and revisit that memory and be kind to yourself in that memory, what you're teaching yourself and how your mind will process this through memory reconsolidation, because you're really accessing the memory. You're not just talking about it. Like if we do true inner child work, we are in there, right? We are back into the moment where it happened, feeling it, remembering it. And then how we respond to that child as the adult self will change what we stored about that memory. And we will release the compulsion and the pain that that memory held, which is why inner child work is the most efficient tool to heal childhood trauma. But many people are against, kind of like thinking, oh, we shouldn't remember. Why would we remember? That's the exact disinterest that wounded us. Who cares now what happened to you? What happened to me when I was 5? Does it matter? It matters. It matters that somebody in this lifetime takes some time to care about what happened to you when you were 5, 6, 10, and all the ages in between from then until now. It matters because every time you care about what happened to you, you're teaching yourself that it matters and you matter and your emotions matter and how you feel matters, and you having a difficult experience is not a burden, and that you're welcomed in this world. And that maybe then, and actually I say maybe, I'm just saying it because it just sounds good, but after all of that, what you will be teaching yourself with certainty is that you deserve to be treated with kindness and love and empathy, because you are lovable And how would someone remember so much of themselves and what happened to themselves and come out of it hating themselves? If you remember of your 5-year-old self, 7-year-old self, 12-year-old self, and hate her, it's going to be hard to hate her. You hate the woman you became because of what happened to you, because you were taught to hate her. But when you go back and see the reality of who she was and what happened to her, you have no choice but to love her. And true self-love is rooted in knowing, making effort for the other, taking time for the other. That's how we teach our system that we deserve to be loved, because we just proved to ourselves that we deserved it because we just did it, right? So I don't care what your mother or father taught you about yourself, you are lovable and you deserve to be here. But no matter how much I say that or how many times I say that, you will not believe it, because there's a part of you that is unshakably, unmovably certain that you don't deserve good things. You don't deserve love. So my suggestion to you is to prove her wrong by taking the time to care about her and why she came to believe those things. And as you do that, you parent her and you love her into the woman that you are today, the woman that deserves to be here, the woman that deserves good things, the woman that belongs to herself, and the woman who is able to finally look at herself with love rather than hatred. I'll see you soon.